Which one?
Decision made.
Which one?
You can't
I'll
say.
skim it,
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
because it's just gonna be.
No, we're not gonna have a conversation. And good evening, folks. And first off, welcome everybody to the 34th meeting of the 13th elected council of the town of Happy Valley, Goose Bay. And I'm going to move my mic closer, as my friend always asks me. All right, so everybody has the agenda as presented in front of you. Entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved
by, Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Any discussion, additions, etc.? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Okay, we've accepted the agenda. Delegations? I don't see any delegations. And I always ask, sometimes, but there's no phone here, so sometimes somebody may call. All right, I was going to send regrets from Councillor Winters, who called me late this afternoon. He's not well, he's at home, and he sends his regrets to the meeting, and the Deputy Mayor is out of town. So I'll send regrets for her as well. All right, we have the two sets of minutes that we have to approve from the 32nd meeting, first off. So you've had the minutes there. I'll ask for a motion to accept the minutes from the 32nd meeting on February the 28th.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Councillor Compton-Hobbs, seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary-minded? All right, we've accepted those minutes. Excuse me. Move into the 33rd meeting. Minutes for the 33rd meeting, which happened on March the 9th. Motion to accept those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Rumbold. Discussion? Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Okay, minutes are accepted as presented. Correspondence, just review outgoing correspondence that we have. We have a letter that from Council dated March the 3rd, addressed to MHA Perry Trimper, and it was requesting that the petition that was presented to Council last month be forwarded to the House of Assembly and presented in the House of Assembly by the MHA and brought to government's attention. On March the 8th, there was a letter to the town of New West Valley, and it was a letter of support for the volunteer firefighters performing non-traditional duties. March the 15th, there was a letter addressed to Minister Hogan, and it was a request for and support for additional RCMP officers for our local detachment area. On March the 16th, we wrote a letter to the Premier, and we requested financial assistance for public safety, and that was in terms of the overrun for the municipal enforcement perspective, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Security services, I'm sorry, yep. And the final outgoing piece of correspondence is on dated March 16th, a letter to Mrs. Jeanette Russell, and it was support for her petition E4203 and dealing with search and rescue. Incoming correspondence, we had our usual incoming correspondence from Municipal Assessment Agency, and that was just regarding an update. And I don't see any other further correspondence. So, all right. Okay, let's go into committee reports, and we'll turn it over to community planning and development.
Okay, thank you, Your
Pass
Worship.
the floor to Councillor Brumfield.
Okay, the Community Planning and Development Committee met in the boardroom on Wednesday, March the 15th at 4:30 p.m. in the evening. Present was myself in the chair, Councillor Jackie Compton-Hobbs, Councillor Bert Pomeroy. The staff were the CEO, Nadine McCauley, Engineer Randy Dillon, Environment Technologist Mark Urquhart, GIS Mark Macrodis, and the Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. The meeting was called to order at 4:53 p.m. There was no delegates. The monthly permit reports were attached and reviewed. And then the business of new Crown land applications. We have two of them, and both of them are almost actually the same. The Crown land applications owned by the people who currently own or occupying the land as a lease. So the first one is application 34701 for Glen Holdings. Currently leasing land on 10 to 12 Broomfield Street. It's zoned commercial and it's currently used as an outside storage. He's applying the Crown lands to have converted to land ownership grant to the existing title. The zone mixed use, and the staff has no objection to this one. There's a recommendation attached for this as well. Next one is application 160862 from Dale Guptill, and it's 146 Hamilton River Road. And he currently uses or occupies this land as a lease, and he's now wanting to purchase it outright as ownership. And the staff has no objections to this one. Next one is a previously deferred discretionary land use application. And it's actually really not even that anymore because we approved this one at the last council meeting. But it's application 160396 from Darren Hill. And it's for an application for land on the Churchill Falls Road, or what we call Trans-Labrador Highway. Newfoundland Labrador Hydro plans to put in a new voltage transmission line, so therefore they put in an objection to this application. So this has now been withdrawn or not approved by us. I guess that's how that works, is it?
Yeah, well, I guess from our perspective, it's a
Yeah.
Crown lands thing, right? So,
Okay. So the next ones are for discretionary land use applications, and all of them are for a home-based business, and there's 4 applications. The first one is from Jas McKenzie, and it's for home-based business at 38 Mitchell Street, and it's be called Northern Labrador Services, and it's going to be a business-to-business consulting service. The area is zoned residential varied density, and that was put on our website. No comments or responses were received. So staff recommend that we agree with this home-based business application. And there are recommendations attached for all of these. The next one is an application from Francis Valentino. And it's for a home-based business at 19 Hope Street. And it's because Valentino's home-based food selling. The area is owned residential varied density, and that was placed on our website, and no comments or responses were received. The CBD committee questioned the takeout/catering of this one, and the traffic and the parking conditions. Therefore, based on that alone, they deferred this item for the staff to get more items or information for the parking really. The next one is a home-based business application from Paulette Miles, and it's a home-based business to be applied out of 11 Grenfell Street, and it's to be called Paulette's Nails. It's zoned residential low density, and ad was placed on the website. No comments or response was received, and staff recommend that we agree with this and with our usual conditions. The final one was a home-based application from Emily Best, located at 7 Grenfell Street. And it's being entitled Inspired Ceramic Studio. The area is zoned residential low density 1, and the ad was placed on our website. No comments or responses were received. So staff recommend that we agree with our usual conditions attached for this home-based business. The other items we had is just Mark Urquhart was to arrange a consultation with our lawyers dealing with a draft of our compliance letter policy. There's another item here which has been dealing with land on Cullen Drive. There's still outstanding, but council will be meeting on this issue, not just on this issue, but on that whole area next week. So this here there is no recommendations coming from this committee anyway. So it's just being here for information items only. Now this meeting was adjourned at 6:14, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April the 18th at 4:30 p.m. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Brumfield. So it's been moved by Councillor Brumfield for the Community and Planning Development, that we accept his report as presented. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to
Councillor
mention
Palmer.
during, Your Worship, during our committee meeting, there was some fairly extensive discussion on Crown land applications within the Kellen Drive area. We've had several of them over the last number of years, and given the fact with groundwater issues there seems to be some miscommunications with Crown lands over whether or not people can apply for Crown land in the area. There is no motion of council, from my understanding, Your Worship, with respect to any Crown land applications for that particular whole area.
Well, with all,
We'll let him finish first.
And so the discussion was around that, and without a motion of council to deal with specific applications, then how can we make a decision to or direct Crown lands not to entertain Crown land applications? That's the question that I'd like to know the
Okay,
answer to.
Councillor Brumfield, did you have
the same way we're doing that up on Trans-Labrador Highway. People cannot just go in there and automatically apply and get it without any objection or input from the council. It's the same thing here at Kellen Drive. We are not objecting to development. We are basically putting it on hold, the land application on hold, because we have a water study to be done in that particular area because of the flooding going in residents.
Yeah, I think what's happened is I don't think there's been a per se hold on Crown lands applications. I think there was some communications in a particular application that resulted from previous that indicated that there was an issue in terms of that. But in terms of us having a hold or advising, so I think that, if everybody's in agreement, we'll direct staff to communicate that to Crown lands. And as Councillor Brumfield had alluded to, we are going to meet next week to discuss the issue more in full. I know what happened was when we first came on council, the 13th council, we had some discussion with residents, a lot of discussion with residents, and we decided to go ahead with a groundwater study that's still ongoing and continues, I think, June or July. I think Mr. Dillon would be when that wraps up, that particular phase.
It should be June, we should get the study.
Okay, so once that's done, I think then council, we'll meet and then we'll have some decisions to do. But the council, the 13th council, back in September of last year, decided that to continue to do development there until we understood a little bit more, then that's where that came from. But was Crown Lands told? If it was in communications, then yeah, you are right, there is no motion.
Yeah, so that was the point I was making. There is no
Yep.
motion of council that directs anybody.
Yep.
Right? So without a motion of council, you can't just arbitrarily make decisions.
No, and that's not, I don't think that's what council has done.
Well, that's the
What we-
perception.
well,
the way
that's
people
what-
feel.
But that's what some of the correspondence that folks may be getting back from Crown Lands, but I don't know, and that's what I'm saying, we direct staff to call Crown Lands or communicate with Crown Lands with that exact issue. There's nothing wrong with someone putting in a Crown Lands application.
That's the thing.
What happens in terms of it being dealt with around our development committee and from within house, then that's a different story because we have our development
Because
regulations.
there hasn't been any application that's come forward, Your Worship, but there is confusion out there, and the message is being
Yep.
sent to potential property owners or developers in our community that this is off limits, and that's.
Well, I don't know,
think
like I
that's the
say,
message that we need to be
if
sending.
people don't ask the questions, Councillor Pomeroy, then the answers can't be given. We can all, suppose and this and that, but yes, absolutely. If we can clear that up, then by all means, and I think a simple call or an email or letter from the CAO or from our engineering department.
So just to
that.
conclude, so we will reach out to Crown Lands and indicate that the town has not imposed, well, we haven't because we haven't had a motion. There's no moratorium on any applications or development in that area at this
No,
point.
but what you're suggesting now is that you just linked development with
Yeah, but
the
there's no
application, which is
applications
totally
right now.
different.
But
Which
like
is-
if you have private land over there, if you have your own personal property, it's no different than telling somebody on on Pottle or Mitchell that you can't build a shed. So that's development. So where do you draw the line?
But we do have a set of development regulations, and if you read into development regulations, I think there's an issue there that we have the ability as council
But
to
there needs to be a
ensure.
vote of council to do that.
But I mean, within the development, and that will come through recommendation from committee, not from Crown Lands.
That's right.
Crown Lands, we're only a referring agency from Crown Lands.
I understand.
So what the problem is that I think, if I'm reading everybody's issues and the people I've talked to, is that Crown Lands are telling folks that, hey, listen, you can't even put in an
Because
application.
the town is
But that's-
advising them that,
Right,
right?
but that's not
That's not
correct.
the
They can
case.
put in their application. Whether development in that gets to go on,
That's
that's
a
a different story.
That's a different story.
Yeah, so does not confuse the issue
No,
by
no,
saying that
gotcha, yeah.
we're going to tell Crown
Yeah.
Lands that it's okay, because development still may be stymied in terms of, that particular areas.
That's right. That's a different application. We'll
Okay.
cross that when it comes.
Any further discussion?
Just, Mayor, I just wanted to say, so we had talked about this, I think, the last 3 times in the CPD meeting. So is all of council meeting next Wednesday to discuss just this issue alone?
Well, I think what happened was the date that we just tossed around that came up late this evening, because I think in chatting with the CAO, there's some, one of our staff reached out to Crown Lands and still hasn't heard back over the last couple of days. So there
Right.
still was some questionable kind of issue of exactly how we should, or what was being told to people. So I think, generally speaking, that next Wednesday, I think we've decided to sit as council and meet and have a chat about that issue in terms of development,
So,
wholeheartedly.
so just to be clear now, any applicants that previously applied, a staff member will contact Crown Land, say tomorrow, and say that no longer.
If Crown Lands, I would suggest that if Crown Lands hasn't taken an application from someone, that the responsibility rests with the individual person who was going to apply to Crown Lands. But I wouldn't do it at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, because it's gonna take time for staff to put that message
So, yeah,
to.
it's my understanding that they, the response from the town was they weren't accepting the application, so,
No, not from the town.
well, whatever the message the town had given Crown Lands.
Okay, but yeah, so it's a Crown Lands issue about the Crown Lands applications. And I think the CAO will fix that,
Right,
to say that, listen, we have put a moratorium on the Crown Lands application process, but then the Crown Lands will send that stuff to us as a referral agency, and then as committee, we'll meet and discuss.
you can see where the confusion out in the community is, though, I mean, you know,
I didn't apply for Peace Lander, so I can't say what someone else said, or this said, or that said,
yeah.
because I didn't physically apply, or,
Well, I guess
So I
as
don't know.
counselors and being approached from some of the applicants, I can see the confusion myself from sitting.
well,
here.
I've been approached by several people, and I told them the same thing, that, from a council perspective, there's not. Now, whether folks can do what they want to do in their particular areas, that's going to be a development application
Yeah.
process that will need to be answered, but to my understanding, there hasn't been anything come to the town. So there's a lot of speculation in that, so
As
the
long as
best
we can
thing to
get that
do it,
cleared up, right?
we'll
That's
fix the issue with Crown Lands, and then it'll become an internal matter with CPD and our engineering and group to
So,
see what happens.
just one more point to that, Mayor, so if, once that's fixed with Crown Lands, that issue, they can apply and the application will
But
come here.
we still have the right to say no.
Yeah,
They'll
so it's
come to
just-
the
yep.
CPD committee.
It'll come to council, just like anything else.
But I think you said earlier, we're still waiting on a water study that's gonna be released in June before any decisions are made on development.
I know, I said, well, what'll happen is it'll come to council. Whether council decides collectively,
Right,
that's a discussion we're gonna have next.
so we're not
Wednesday?
waiting on the water study in June?
Well, why would we have spent the money if we weren't going to wait, Councillor Hobbs? Like, why would we go ahead and continue to develop in an area where there may be an issue? Maybe there isn't an issue. Maybe the water study will, say that was an anomaly, a one-off. But
Right,
until we fully understand that, I don't know why we would consider or continue, in my opinion, why we would continue to develop an area without having that knowledge. That's
and that's
That's all.
coming in June.
well, that's when the results will be in, and then
Right.
we'll
So
decide
another
where to go from
discussion
there.
amongst council after the study, then review of applications, how we proceed.
I would suggest, that would be, that's a committee discussion, but until that time, there hasn't been a lot. There's 1 or 2 applications that, folks that have contacted me in terms of that area. So, there's not, a huge workload there, or a huge number of folks, right? There's a lot of confusion over a couple of particular areas, so.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion? It's good discussion. Okay, so, all those in favor of accepting the report indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye, contrary-minded?
Aye.
Aye?
I'm for it.
You're good? Okay. Yeah.
I just gotta figure out how to turn this phone off.
Oh, okay, all right, so we'll move into recommendations.
Okay, my first recommendation deals with the Crown Land applications on Broomfield Street by Glen Holdings. Application 34701 Glen Holdings The CBD committee recommends council have no objection to the Crown Land application 34701 on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Brumfield through CPD that we have no objection to Crown Lands application number 34701. Seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Discussion. All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Recommendation is passed. Next recommendation, please.
Next recommendation, again, is dealing with the Crown Land application there by Dale Guptail. Application 160862, Edward Dale Guptail. The CBD committee recommends council have no objection to the Crown Land application 160862 on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
All right, moved by Councillor Brumfield through CPD that we have no objection. Council has no objection to Crown Lands application 160862. Seconded by
I'll second it.
Councillor Rumble. That's our Ann. Discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Recommendations passed. Next recommendation, please.
Okay, the next one's dealing with home-based business applications. The first one, Josh McKenzie makes a home-based business application for 38 Mitchell Street, to be entitled Northern Labrador Services. The CBD committee recommends council support and approve the home-based business application at 38 Mitchell Street by Joshua McKenzie for Northern Labrador Services, which will provide consulting and procurement services subject to compliance to all town regulations and conditions.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Brumfield through CPD that we approve a home-based business application for Josh McKenzie at 38 Mitchell Street to operate Northern Labrador Services. Seconded by
Second.
Councillor Pomeroy. Any discussion? I'm glad to see this one because I asked a question when I signed checks if certain businesses that we do business with are registered in town, so I'm glad to see this one is now registered. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye.
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 Contrary-minded? Recommendation is passed.
Okay,
Next
the
one,
next
sir.
recommendation is for Paulette Miles, the home-based business application, 11 Grenfell Street, Paulette's Nails. The CBD committee recommends council support and approve the home-based business application at 11 Grenfell Street by Paulette Miles for Paulette's Nails, which will provide the application and removal of gel nails subject to compliance to all town regulations and conditions.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield through CPD that we accept a home-based business application at 11 Grenfell Street for Paulette's Nails. Seconded by Councillor Rumbold. Discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Recommendations passed. And your next one, sir?
Okay, my last recommendation, Emily Best for a home-based business application, 7 Grenfell Street. The CBD committee recommends council support and approve the home-based business application at 7 Grenfell Street by Emily Best for Inspired Ceramic Studio, which will create small batch ceramics and provide small ceramics classes, a maximum of 6, subject to compliance to all town regulations and conditions.
All right, moved by Councillor Brumfield through the Community Planning and Development Committee that we accept a home-based business application for 7 Grenfell Street and to operate Inspired Ceramic Studios. Seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion?
Just
Councillor
one,
Palmer.
Your Worship, it mentioned classes, a maximum of 6 in a class. Now, the development regulations restricts the number of vehicles that can be parked in a person's driveway
In their
in
application.
an hour,
if you-
so can you explain whether that will have any impact on I know they have to follow the development regulations, but a
Yeah.
maximum of 6, what will that
Yeah, in
entail?
your application, you'll see there that basically how this property is located, their parking spot is behind their garage, from what I can gather, or behind the parking spot way in the front, or back of the house, really. So it should not impede anything on the street parking on this one.
Councillor Compton Hobbs?
Just to add to that, Councillor Broomfield, in the meeting, we had that discussion, and we just said simply to state in a letter to her that she already understands
Yeah,
then it's gotta go in the back parking, so I don't
Yeah.
think it'd be an issue, but, we did recommend a letter stating that to her.
And it does say, like I say, compliance to all town
Yeah.
regulations.
Yeah.
And I will say, I like the name, creative. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion passed. And can I just make a note that I really like this format much better than having to read out all the other stuff over and over and over again, so which is good. All right, we're moving into Community Services and Recreation report now, and it's going to be delivered by Councillor Pomeroy. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Service and Recreation Committee held its meeting on March the 9th at 4:30 p.m. Present were Chair, Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace, Councillor Denise Rumbold, myself, Councillor Pomeroy, Director CSR Travis Ford, CAO Nadine McCauley, Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy, and CDR Manager Greg Osmond. The meeting was called to order at 4:39 p.m. We reviewed the previous minutes and action items. There were no errors or omissions. There was some discussion during the committee on implementing a wind phone at Birch Island Boardwalk. For those of you who are not familiar, wind phone is basically a phone that's set up in a quiet, peaceful place to allow those that are grieving to place a call to go talk to a loved one that had passed on. The committee had a good discussion on this and was in favor of the idea, and Councillor Rumbold has offered to reach out to Healthy Waters Labrador to apprise them of the idea. I'm not sure if you've had that opportunity yet, but it's good to hear. Recreate, the CSR Director Ford presented a proposal from Recreate that's designed to provide the town with an outline of the age-friendly assessment and action plan process that will be implemented with the best interest of the community in mind. Manager report for February. The manager report was attached and revised. Manager advised committee that his main focus during the month of February was obviously the Labrador Winter Games. Also noted that the new floor was installed at that time. I'm not sure if it's still down and may be taken up by now, but it was a great little bit of discussion on that and how great it looked. The director also commended CSR staff who have gone above and beyond to get the flooring down and all their work during the Labrador Winter Games. There was some discussion about replacing programming software as the current program is not user-friendly for staff or public. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. I'd have to dig deeper into that. I don't know, maybe the CAO might be able to add a little bit on that. Is there anything in particular on that? Or
Councillor Rumble.
Councillor Rumble?
She's
Yeah,
going to bail
I
you
just
out.
recall from our discussion, it was a cumbersome system for booking the arena times. and
Oh, okay.
They wanted something more up to date. I think our CSR director was reaching out to other municipalities to see what they were using. And so if I'm not mistaken, it was just to replace something that's not user-friendly with something that will actually work for the employees, the users, everybody else.
Okay, great, thanks. Also, the CSR director noted that he would be attending the recreation conference this May, and he can talk about this with other municipalities, see what they're using. Committee reviewed the event schedule for April at the arena. Next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 12th at 12:05 p.m. Meeting adjourned at 5:21 p.m. Please accept this CSR report as read, and there are no recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. So it's been moved by Councillor Pomeroy for Community Services and Recreation that we accept his report, or the committee's report, as presented. Seconded by Councillor Rumbold. Discussion? Councillor Rumbold?
Thank you, Mayor. Just further to what Councillor Pomeroy had said, as far as the wind phone goes, just an update to that. I did have discussion with Healthy Waters Labrador and spoke with Marina, and it was a wonderful coincidence that this came up to our table, and when I reached out to her, she said it had actually just recently been discussed at their table. So great minds on the same page, and they were fully in support as well. I have ordered a old-fashioned rotary style phone because it doesn't have to be a working phone, of course. And I'm working on getting a box built to enclose the phone. And then once the thaw happens a little bit more and it's a little bit easier to access the boardwalk, residents can look forward to seeing that installed, so.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I see on some of my other mayor social media posting that I read and follow that it's becoming pretty popular. And on the other side, some folks that have used it have stories, and it's an opportunity for someone to have some peace and tranquility in terms of dealing with the loss of loved ones or whatever. So I think it is a great idea. Councillor Compton Hobbs.
Just for clarification, Councillor Rumble, you ordered it, or is it?
I ordered it, yes, because I do have to say, this is a project that I brought forward to committee because it's very near and dear to my heart. So, yeah, it's a wind phone for anybody who's listening and is not familiar. They are in other municipalities. Deer Lake has one. I looked at Digby, Nova Scotia. So those of us who are grieving or have suffered a loss, it gives you an outlet. So I can arrive on the boardwalk on a quiet day all by myself, pick up a phone, and it's obviously not a connected phone. It's just a phone, non-working, and you use it to have a conversation with somebody who is no longer with you. There are stories about people who felt a little silly when they first picked up the phone, and then they were able to have a moment where they shared updates and just talked, and a lot of unresolved grief can be dealt with a simple conversation. So yeah, so as far as I ordered it, it's just because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. We're very hopeful that it gets use. So yeah, looking forward to it being installed.
Well, good on you for that, Councillor Rumble. I'm sure a lot of people will.
I hope so.
Will be looking forward to that. But just one more point now. I didn't hear anything, and I don't know if it was in the manager's report, but we received another letter today. Sorry, this will bring you in conflict, Mayor, so. But I need to bring it up.
I have no issue. It's going to be brought up in another committee, so
Is it?
it's on, are you talking about
No,
the
not that one.
finance and admin?
Not that
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I am going to declare conflict then if it's dealing with the
Yes.
skating. I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah.
I will declare conflict, and I'm going to ask Councillor Brumfield if he'll, sorry.
I was saying, that was just received this afternoon, so
Okay.
I think we need to have time to look at it and
Okay,
digest it before we discuss it here.
okay, so what does council want to do?
My-
I don't know what the,
I want to discuss it here because it's probably
Okay.
the third time around
So-
that it's
so-
been brought.
so what I'm going to do is, has everybody been aware of it? Is everybody aware of what Councillor Compton Hobbs is discussing? Okay,
It was sent to all
So-
council.
was it? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pass
Oh,
the
yeah,
chair.
figure skating thing.
Yeah, I'm going to pass the chair over to Councillor Brumfield. I'm going to ask him, I'm going to pass him the gavel, and I'm going to declare conflict. And the reason I'm declaring conflict is, of course, as I said before, my wife is the vice president for the Skating Association.
Just a point of order. Oh, no, I'm fine. I forgot the last count. I was thinking.
Oh, no, we had a quorum.
I was thinking I wouldn't count myself.
So, so I know it only came in this afternoon, but it's the same letter that's been, I've seen at least 3 times. And I think if I remember, it's been brought up since maybe the fall, I'm not sure, before my time. So I'm wondering if it was discussed in your CSR meeting and why it can't be addressed. Do any of you know, or?
There was some discussion at CSR briefly on the issue. There was, I guess what it comes down to is like a lot of these issues shouldn't really be coming to council directly. These are operational matters. And, I guess the CAO has been dealing with this issue, I believe, with the director. She can probably speak to that, but have been dealing with this issue with the director. And it's been an ongoing issue over dressing rooms and signage on dressing rooms and things not being done to the satisfaction of the figure skating club. And they have some, concerns that they brought forward and feel that they're not being addressed.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion as Counselor Pomeroy when we were in our last CSR meeting, that it was definitely an operations matter, and council spoke with the director of CSR and CAO, and I left confident that they were
Would
working
resolve
towards
it.
resolution.
Yeah.
So,
I won't get into the letter, obviously, the council will discuss that, but there was quite a bit of information in there, and I don't know what's accurate and what's not, but the president did say that she has met with the CAO and the manager on a few occasions with no issues resolved. So, the chair of CSR is not here, but, so the CAO, Nadine, I assume now you will deal with this letter in a timely manner. I mean, to me, like I said, it was before my time, but it seems like a simple solution that they've been trying to get rectified since the fall. I might be wrong on the timing, I don't know. But I just wanted to bring it to this public meeting to say that we did discuss it and that somebody will be reaching out to her, the president, one way or the other, to see what, if anything, can be done.
I mean, I guess to add to that, you know, when you're talking about operations of the town, you know, and coming to council to make a decision, those decisions should be made, they should never come to council. Shouldn't get to that point. So, you know, I'm hopeful that this can be resolved sooner rather than later, so that next month we're not having the same conversation.
I'm optimistic as well.
But we'll be discussing this one at a different meeting, right, in detail?
A letter that was received today would come to
Yeah.
the next committee meeting of CSR, would it
Yes.
not? Yes.
Yeah. My only concern about that is that figure skating will be over for the winter by the time the next committee meeting comes. They've waited for however long. So I don't know if you can call a separate meeting or deal with it through the management or whichever way it's gotta be dealt with. I mean, this can't wait to go on the agenda in
Yeah,
April.
but what I see then, what you're saying really, as far as I'm concerned, is so far from what I understand on this issue, is that our staff did reach out to the president of the Snowflake Figure Skating, telling him the situation. What I gather is that they didn't like the response, so they keep coming back until they get what they want.
I don't know if that's the way I understand it. It seems like it was fixed for a short time, the signage, and then the signage disappeared. So, anyway, I'm gonna leave it there and let the CAO deal with it, and, hopefully before the next CSR meeting in April, cause figure skating will be over by then. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and
Okay,
hopefully,
thank you.
just to add, hopefully, you know, we don't have this issue next year. Hopefully, everybody can be, you know, somewhere on the same page, and everybody can get along, and,
Yeah,
and we can get a system in place that works for everybody, and that's obviously the goal.
yeah,
And, you know, we're not gonna solve it here tonight
no,
at this
that's right.
meeting, but, hopefully
Just-
we can get moving on it.
Just one more point to that, though. One of the concerns was the user group. So the meeting that's held early September with all the user groups should resolve any scheduling for next year. So I think that's pretty simple to fix. But the rest, the CAO can deal with.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, so no recommendations from Community Services and Recreation. We'll move into Finance, Admin, and Policy, and Councillor Rumble. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance, Admin, and Policy Committee met on March 21st, 2023. Meeting was called to order at 4:36 p.m. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Todd Winters, CAO Nadine McCauley, DFO Mike Dalmont, SAT Kelsey Campagna, HR Director Kellyanne Jack, Community Development Greg Osmond, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. Regrets were extended from the Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace. Community reviewed previous minutes and action items. No errors or omissions were detected. The DFO, Director of Financial Operations, and SAT, Supervisor of Assessment and Taxation, you get carried away with the acronyms sometimes, I'm sorry, I apologize, provided updates on some ongoing action items for additional discussion. Under new business, we received a donation request with a recommendation to follow. a request for property tax and water and sewer interest denial that had not been actioned at the previous council meeting. And just an add-on to that, I had a huge number of recommendations at the last council meeting. So somehow, through my 57 recommendations or whatever we had, we did miss one. So that will be presented in the form of a recommendation at this meeting as well. Necessary changes to policy A0018 were discussed to bring it up to date, and a recommendation will follow. Information was presented for committee review regarding this year's Expo Labrador and sponsorship possibilities. Amendments were discussed to present traffic regulations, and our CAO will now pursue an opinion from our legal firm so that a recommendation can be made. That will follow at a future meeting. Correspondence was received for review regarding a streetlight issue. An Indigenous student training opportunity was brought forward, and an administrative item was discussed for our electric bus purchase. Under action items, much discussion was held regarding requests to council for tax relief for our not-for-profit organizations. This has been an ongoing area of discussion since this council was elected, and we have been advised by management, had been an item of discussion with previous councils as well. It was decided by committee that our ultimate goal is to recognize the contributions of the not-for-profit organizations in our community, and to do so, we will be bringing a recommendation forward to reduce the mill rate, the already reduced mill rate of 8 mills, by half to 4 mills, making this the lowest of all of our tax rates for the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay. We also agreed to amend policy to eliminate the exemption process for not-for-profits, as this reduction will provide all groups with cost savings and not require a cumbersome application process. Recommendations to follow. Also discussed as an action item was the previous month's request for a rate reduction by the Snowflake Figure Skating Club. A recommendation was brought forward from the committee at the February meeting, which was defeated. This means no resolution has been made. The committee asked the DFO to compile a summary of the financial consequences if this rate reduction was to occur. In the interest of fairness and equality for all user groups, it was agreed that if we were to approve a rate reduction for the Snowflake Figure Skating Club, we would be obliged to follow suit with all other arena users. This would result in a loss of revenue to the town for the operation of the arena. For this reason, the committee agreed that providing a rate reduction to one user group would open us up to the same request from all users. This could be very detrimental financially. For this reason, we will once again be submitting a recommendation to council to finally resolve this request. Further to this, committee will be working to bring to council a policy recommendation in the future regarding the maximum number of times the same item will be brought forward for discussion. Under other business, the CAO advised committee that the 2022 gas tax audit is complete and submitted. Future discussion will be held to discuss how these newly available monies will be best utilized by the town and budgeted accordingly. The managers presented their reports. The Supervisor of Assessment and Taxation advised that some applications have already been submitted for the 2023 Low-Income Tax Relief Program, and we encourage others who may wish to avail of this program to get their completed applications in. The DFO updated the committee on the annual budget review thus far, and no concerns were noted, and everything is on track as of present. The Community Development Manager provided a communications report and will continue to do so quarterly, informing the committee on town communications statistics and plans to attract more users to subscribe to Constant Contact, which is the town's email information system. Plans are also in the works to develop a new and updated, more user-friendly town website. The meeting was adjourned at 6:45 p.m., and our next meeting is scheduled for April 17th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Before I submit my report, I have an additional item that I have added to the end because it was just brought to my attention this afternoon. As of today, our Supervisor of Assessment and Taxation and the finance team, as well as additional staff who didn't hesitate to roll up their sleeves here at the Town Hall, were successful in printing and mailing the 2023 tax bills. This is a huge endeavor, and over 3,700 envelopes had to be filled, sealed, and mailed. Anyone who has ever been a part of a mass mailing will understand the magnitude of this feat. On behalf of the FAP committee and council as a whole, we would like to thank the staff for all their hard work and assure them it does not go unnoticed. And saying that, I would like to make a motion that we accept the report as read.
Before I accept the motion, I'm going to pass the chair back over to my good friend, Councillor Brumfield, and I'm also going to ask that you deal with your first recommendation.
Okay.
All right, you deal with number F, or letter F first, and again, there's an issue in here, I'm not voting on the issue as it was discussed.
Which one are you talking?
No, I need a seconder
Oh,
though.
Need a
oh,
second.
You need a seconder first.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, he's gonna, he turned to him.
I'm just not going to be involved in the conversation.
Was it moved yet?
I'm not
Yeah,
made the
she moved
motion,
it.
and I just need a
Aye.
seconder.
Ask someone to make a motion to accept
I'll second the
report.
report.
And the seconder?
Yeah, I motioned,
Oh, okay,
and she
okay.
seconded.
Any questions or comments? Okay, time to vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All against say nay. Thank you, pass.
My,
Oh,
okay, so we're going to start with my recommendations, and I guess, further to what the mayor said, we want to move my recommendations around so that the last one on my page is gonna be the first one I'm gonna read, correct? Okay.
yes.
So, the Finance, Admin, and Policy Committee recommends, as far as item F, ice rental relief for Snowflake Figure Skating Club. The FAP Committee recommends council deny the request to adjust the ice rental fee for the season of September 2022 to April 2023 for the Snowflake Figure Skating Club.
Any, so moved. Any questions or comments? Oh, seconder, sorry, any seconder? Looking for a seconder. Looking for a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments?
Discussion, I'm
Councillor
just
Conroy.
a little bit confused. Didn't this come before council last month, same recommendation?
Yes.
And council had voted on it previously?
It was defeated.
Okay, so if I can refer back to my report, just to provide clarity. So this was brought to committee at February meeting, and it was defeated, which meant no resolution has been made. So the request, because it was a request to deny, and it was defeated, it wasn't, you can't, it's not an approval. It was a request to deny.
It's not an automatic
Right,
approval.
so, a no to deny is not a yes to approve. So it kind of sits in purgatory. So what we had to do was, at committee, we said we can't just leave something hanging, obviously. So we want to make a recommendation to bring back to council. Because we had significant discussion, as I noted in my report, and I will just to brief everybody once again, in the interest of fairness and equality for all user groups, it was agreed that if we were to approve a rate reduction for the Snowflake Figure Skating Club, this would result, or could potentially result, in the same request for all arena user groups. Yeah. If all arena user groups submitted the same request, in all fairness, if I say to Councillor Compton Hobbs, you can have a reduction, and I say to Councillor Pomeroy, you cannot, then there's a fairness or an equality question. So once we did that, we had to look at what would the financial consequences be if we did that for one, and then another group came forward and said, okay, you did it for them, we want it done for us. So if we looked at that, there was a significant financial consequence to reducing the rate for all user groups.
Okay.
Now, I can't say for certain if we were to say, okay, Councillor Compton Hobbs, you get a rate reduction, Councillor Pomeroy, you don't, what the consequence would be.
Yeah.
Perhaps you would come back and say, that's not fair, and I want the same. And we have an obligation not to show preference to one user group over another user group.
Just a question. So why were they requesting? What was the rationale for requesting a reduced rate? And did they agree upon a set rate in the fall?
So we set our new rates in January, and I'm gonna look to the CAO because I may mess this up. In January of 2022, we set the rates for the 2022-2023 recreation year. I'm calling it the recreation year, from September 2022 to April, May 2023. So those rates were set in a budget meeting in January of 2022. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't spring this on user groups, that we gave them significant, like lots of notice. So we informed them, was it February or March of 2022, that there had not been a rate increase in a significant amount of time. However, the cost to operate the arena has gone up steadily, as groceries have and gas has and electricity, everything in the world has gone up. So our operating costs increased, but we hadn't gotten a rate increase from any of our user groups. We wanted to make sure we gave them significant amount of time so that when they did their registration for the upcoming year, they could take into consideration, okay, we've got a rate increase, we're going to have to make some changes in order to be operationally effective.
Just one question, sorry, Councillor. So this increase also applied to other groups as well?
Everybody across the board. Everybody had the same rate increase, but this particular user group came to the town and said, the notice was given to them February or March of 2022, and the request to reduce their rate came to us, I'm looking at our CAO, 2 months ago?
Well, it was discussed in February for the first time.
February,
so
okay. So, yeah. So we had given them the notice, and a year later, they came to us and said that they felt that there was financial hardship, and would we entertain a rate decrease? Again, the reason it's being brought back is because it wasn't resolved the last time, and the reason I'm giving you this much information this time is because I need to make sure that council is aware of what was discussed in committee, and that the same recommendation is coming forward a second time, because although it was defeated the last time, maybe I didn't give enough information to council as to the rationale for the recommendation to deny.
Yeah.
Councilor Hobbs?
Couple things now. What you just said there, Council Rumble, is exactly everything we heard in the last meeting.
Okay.
Exactly, word for word, everything we heard in this, and I'm gonna give my same reasoning why I don't support it. But I'm wondering, is it even permitted to bring back a motion that has been defeated? Is
Well,
that,
I remember we discussed this one at the last meeting, because I remember I bring up this point. And it wasn't defeated, what we did is we didn't vote to approve or deny the request. The way it was worded at that time, it was worded differently, and we voted on how it was worded.
so wouldn't
And I do
this,
remember that, because I asked that specific question, I said, so if we, based on what was written in December or February's meeting, I said, if we defeat this motion, then in essence, we're really voting against it, and the answer was no. But it was left in limbo, so now they're clarifying what it is we're voting on.
so we're bringing the exact same motion back?
It's not the same, it's different. It's because,
How's it different, worded different, but it's the same meaning, same motion?
It's still
It
to
is the
deny.
same motion. It is the
is
same
still to
motion,
deny.
same recommendation to
Yeah.
deny. But it's because if we don't, we've left this
But
in
we-
limbo.
But it was defeated that we don't.
And if it's
support the
defeated
denial.
again tonight, which we don't know if that will happen, but if it is, as I said, further to this, the committee will be working to bring to council a policy recommendation regarding the maximum number of times the same item can be.
But-
Because we don't want to do this. Nobody wants to do this to anybody who submitted any type of request to council. We don't want to say, oh, we didn't get a resolution, sorry, too bad about you. Oh, we didn't get a,
But
we
why
want,
wouldn't you reach out to Snowflake Figure Skating Club again and say that it was defeated? The request was defeated, the denial, The way I understood that when I walked away was we defeated the
We did.
request to deny it.
We did.
Right,
So
so that's not an approval.
I was walking away thinking that they were getting their request.
No.
No, a motion to defeat a denial is
I
not
didn't
the
agree
same
with
as an
the motion.
approval.
I did not agree with the motion.
Right.
Right,
And I won't agree with the motion tonight, and I'll give the same reasoning as I gave last month. On the same motion that we're looking at again, I don't understand. Snowflake figure skating compared to minor hockey is a huge difference in numbers, and I believe they even stated their registration was low. So, I don't know off the difference per hour, what it is. But it's a significant difference. So based on their registration numbers, and they did not increase their registration
they did. They just didn't increase it
enough. So we're expecting Snowflake Figure Skating Club to fundraise maybe, I don't know, whatever they gotta do to get more money to pay a higher ice rental. But, I mean, like I said, their numbers are so low compared to minor hockey or minor soccer or whoever. I support them looking for some type of relief. If they were a group that had 200 kids registered, I could see. But you can't compare them to all the other user groups who have big numbers in registration. I don't know the numbers exactly, but from 200 probably to 50 or 40 or whatever. That's huge.
Yeah, I definitely, I hear your point. I just, and playing devil's advocate, because we have to take names and everything out of it when we're looking at it, in the interest of fairness, we have, if I had said to you, we have user group A and user group B, and if we give a rate decrease to user group A, do we have to give a rate decrease, or what grounds do we have to deny one to user group B? So because you have identified minor hockey, for example, if minor hockey were to see that we have passed, if we had passed, if it was a motion to approve, and we approved a decrease for Snowflake, and then we get a letter from minor hockey that says, well, we're requesting the same thing in the interest of fairness, what possibly could be our rationale?
Based on the numbers of registration. Could
So
be
we
one.
would tell
You're
minor
in little
hockey.
old Goose Bay, and everybody knows the user groups and how many
Right.
numbers are.
So we would be responsible to saying to one user group, because you have managed to recruit high numbers, you don't get the same discount.
Well, that could be one of the reasons. There's probably other reasons why Snowflake Figure Skating can't afford to pay the full increased rate. I don't know. Just from what I understand is their numbers are very low, and I think they said in their letter financial hardship, so they would have difficulty paying the increase. So I don't support it, and I can't believe that it's the same recommendation coming back in front of us again.
Our laws had to be a general application too, right?
Yeah.
So I understand the reason for bringing it back, because it wasn't
No,
clear. It wasn't really clear. I understand where you come from. A vote to deny doesn't automatically mean approval. I understand that. The question I have, I understand about fairness too, and I think Councillor Captain Hobbs touched on something there in terms of numbers. So if you have 10 people in a user group and 1,000 people, and you give the same percentage of an increase, obviously it's going to, the smaller group is going to suffer more. What kind of an impact will this have on the figure skating club going forward? Is this going to have, are we going to see their numbers down next year? Are we going to put them in financial hardship because of this? That's the question I would like
Well,
to
that'd be
know.
a question
Are we
for
talking,
Snowflake
are we
Figure
talking
Skating Club.
significant amounts of dollars here? I don't know the amounts, so that would make it clearer for me.
I did have some dollar figures, but what I had for dollar figures was when we asked for our DFO to run the numbers on if we provided the same discount to all users. right? So,
Everyone, yeah. but
yeah,
you can't
because
compare
again,
apples
if
to
we have to be
oranges, right?
prepared for the event that if we did it for one, it would be a request from another.
Yeah.
So it was just, this was never, ever meant to be to the detriment of, the figure skating club or any user group. That would not be, what it was a budget discussion where we had decided that rate increases had not occurred, cost of operating had gone up, and that we would give everybody sufficient notice so that they could make the changes to their registration, so that they would be prepared. So-
Did the rates double?
What did they go
I
from,
believe it
Nadine?
went from $60 to $100.
So 40% increase in rates?
Is that right?
Something like that.
Close
maybe.
to it, I
As I
think.
said, it was the first time.
And we
in
haven't
10
had no
years
issues with other user groups
paying.
having concerns over the rates, or they have adjusted their
And we
rates
could, like,
accordingly, I guess?
They said they were provided notice so that they would be able to plan for it.
So what are the financial implications to the town of not supporting this recommendation?
of not supporting this recommendation, nothing, because if this recommendation gets defeated, again, there's no impact. Then we have to look at how do we handle because again, a motion to defeat a denial is not an approval.
But you would,
So,
wouldn't you go back to the user group and tell them that your request was denied or accepted or whatever? So they want their request to adjust. You're denying that request to adjust.
the recommendation is to deny
Yeah,
the request for a rate adjustment.
Yeah. So if it was defeated twice, wouldn't you go back to them and have a conversation and say?
Oh, well, exactly, that's what we're saying, we don't wanna spin our tires, we don't want
Yeah.
to chase our tail, we want to make sure that if this happens, that there is a policy put in place where the same motion has a maximum number of times and then we say, okay, does it have to be tweaked, does it have to be adjusted, and this is new to me as well, I've never seen it where, a motion to deny was defeated, came back, so we wanna make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, obviously.
So can I, Chair, propose a friendly amendment to the motion to make it clear so that it's either yes or no vote?
I'm not convinced you can you? Or-
Sure I can.
Yeah.
You can if there's agreement to make an amendment.
I'll second that.
We don't know what the amendment is.
Well, I just want to propose that council approve the request to adjust ice time. Change the word deny to approve. Then it's yes or no. Straightforward. It won't need to come back.
Yeah, I would have no problem with that, because all you do is just put it the other way, so it's either gonna be yea or nay, and it doesn't come back.
So I need to put forward a motion.
So if you vote against it, that means you're voting against adjusting.
Well, we haven't voted yet.
No, he wants the word,
Change the word
Deny to approve.
yes, the
So
request.
that means if you vote for this resolution, you're voting to adjust the request,
Yes,
to reduce it.
yes.
And if we vote against, then
You're defeating it.
It's just more clear.
Yeah. And I'd just like to remind council too, that you have a fiduciary duty as council to council and council operations, so.
I'll second that motion for the friendly amendment to change the word deny to approve.
Okay, I'm good with that, and we'll vote as is.
vote. So do we have a vote on that? Like we're okay with the amendment?
What's that?
You need to ask for a vote.
To amend,
Oh,
The chair, are you good with that?
So,
You brought this forward, so with the amendment, your motion goes away.
right, so what are we voting on right now? The approval to the amendment?
yes.
Yes.
So
Okay,
if you vote
but-
against it, that means you're defeating it.
Okay, but am I voting on the amendment or am I voting on the motion?
No, you're voting on the amendment.
we're just
really.
making an amendment to the motion.
Right, so what am I voting on? The amendment?
The
to the
amendment.
motion.
First, right, we vote that we
Yes.
approve the amendment and then we vote on the amended motion,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so,
I,
this is for an amendment,
yeah.
yes, okay.
okay,
So that was everyone?
So you want to read, does she read the resolution again? She does, right?
She needs to
Well,
read the
if
friendly
you made-
amendment.
If you made the friendly amendment, shouldn't you be reading the
I
motion?
should be, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
FAP Committee recommends council approve the request to adjust ice rental fee for the season of September 22nd to April 2023 for Snow Figure Skating Club.
Moved by Councillor Palmer. Any seconders?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments?
I think we've done it all.
All in favor, aye or nay?
Aye.
All against, nay.
Nay.
Nay. For tie.
Motion is defeated.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So motion is defeated, correct?
Which means we're not
Correct.
approving.
Okay,
We're gonna
Done.
pass the, okay.
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
Okay. I am gonna go right to my next one, which is item A, so that I can look at Counselor Pomeroy.
Okay,
I'm gonna leave this.
Okay, yeah,
All
that's
right.
where that's where I'm headed. I'm going to, so I went to F for you, and now I'm going to A for you.
and
And
just state
do
your
you want
reason.
to say
state-
before you leave,
state-
Counselor Pomeroy?
Yeah,
Just
I'll-
point of order,
I'm
yeah.
leaving because this motion requires.
Do you want to speak into the
decision.
microphone? Do you want to speak in, yeah?
Leaving because the motion requires a decision on a fundraiser that my wife is involved in.
All right, so please have the record indicate that Councillor Pomeroy is declaring conflict, and we'll head up to the viewing gallery. All right, floor is yours, Councillor Rumble.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Finance Admin and Policy Committee has a donation request, and the committee recommends that council approve the purchase of 8 tickets to the Royal LePage Libra House fundraiser, which will be held on April 1st, 2023, for an amount of $600. Furthermore, if tickets are sold out and not available, council make a donation to the event in the amount of $600.
All right, it's moved by Councillor Rumble through the FAP committee, that we approve purchase of 8 tickets for the fundraiser, and if tickets happen to be sold out, we will make a cash donation of $600. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion? I think it would have been easier just to make a donation of $600, but yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye. Contrary-minded? Motion is passed. And we'll get Councillor Pomeroy to come back while we move into recommendation number 3.
All set. Thank you, Mayor. My next recommendation, property tax and water and sewer interest exemption request. Just before I read that, just further to my report, this is an item that should have been voted on last meeting and was missed in my multitude of recommendations. So this is parcel ID 257646, Gary Callahan Holdings Limited. The FAP committee recommends council deny the property tax and water sewer interest exemption for $302.96 for parcel ID 257646, Gary Callahan Holdings Limited.
All right, it's moved by Councillor Rumbold through FAP that council recommends to deny a property tax and water exemption in the amount noted. Seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Recommendation has been denied. Recommendation has been accepted to deny. Next recommendation, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Next recommendation, policy A0018. The Finance Admin and Policy Committee recommends council approve amended policy A0018 as presented in council's package.
And just as a point of order, could we get what the name
I
of
will definitely, I'm just pulling it up right
FA0018
now
is? As
so that I can read it verbatim.
just the
Sorry.
title is good.
Definitely.
Public council meeting delegations.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Rumbold that council approve the amended policy A0018, which is council delegations policy, seconded by
I'll second
Councillor
that.
Pomeroy. Discussion?
Just, oh,
Councillor Rumbold.
Thank you, Mayor.
you're gonna,
Just,
you're gonna explain it anyway.
yeah, just in the point of clarity, this is a language amendment only.
Okay.
So this one was previously worded with terms like town manager or
Gotcha.
town clerk. So all
Just-
we've done is just clean it
So
up
syntax
make it,
issue.
yes, exactly.
Councillor Palmer, was that what you were going to say?
That was what I wanted to
Great minds think alike.
mention.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion's passed. Recommendations accepted. Next one, please.
Policy F0001. The Finance Admin and Policy Committee recommends council amend policy F0001 to decrease the mill rate for not-for-profit organizations from 8 mills to 4 mills, effective January 1st, 2023, for the 2023 taxation year.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Rumbold through the Finance and Admin Policy Committee that we accept the amended policy F0001 for the upcoming for the current tax year. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion? Councillor Brumfield.
Is there anywhere in there that's defines not-for-profit organizations?
Good question.
There's no definition in the policy.
Yeah. So how would it be clarified in terms of somebody applying with a CRA designation, provincial designation? How would an organization be defined as not-for-profit to be put into this policy?
They would
Is
have
there
to
a
have
definition
some sort of
schedule?
proof.
Yeah, okay, all right. So there would be something, you just can't all of a sudden say I'm not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Compton Hobbs?
I just got a question. You can have two separate mill rates?
No.
Business,
Business
Business.
law.
It's just as a
Yeah.
business tax,
Okay,
not
yeah,
property.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
and actually, can,
I'm not going down that road.
No, been there, done that.
Yes.
Yeah.
can we actually
Sorry?
amend that motion that it references the business
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
tax mill rate and also the name of the policy?
So we can't amend it because it's already done second. We can accept a friendly,
Friendly amendment.
which
Sorry.
is an enhancement as opposed to a hostile amendment, which,
Not changing the
Okay.
method.
yes.
So I would read this as the FAP committee recommends council amend policy F0001 to decrease the business tax mill rate
There you go.
for not-for-profit
Yep.
organizations from 8 mills to 4 mills.
That sounds much better.
So, moved by Councillor Rumbold that we now, it's the business tax portion amendment, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Any further discussion? Okay, all those,
Well, they still haven't answered my question, where does it define not-for-profit organizations?
CAO said that they would have to bring in proof, whether it would be CRA or provincial designation.
Yeah, but why did we worry about what CRA or anyone else has to say? This is a town Happy Valley Goose Bay. We define what we want as a not-for-profit, not what Brevny Canada or someone else says.
Well, how can you say if,
Brevny Canada, we do use that as a guideline, but we don't, not committed to it.
Councillor Pomeroy?
Mayor, I do believe that organizations and groups that they have to register for not-for-profit
Yep.
with the province.
Yeah,
Okay,
they'll
They
give
would
that
have to have, they would have to be
ID.
incorporated as a
Yep.
not-for-profit
Mhm.
group or organization. I think that's where we're going with this one.
My understanding is they had to be registered as such. And you had to
you'd
receive that
register it as
status.
a not-for-profit.
No,
just
you
can't
register as a
arbitrarily-
charitable organization with Revenue Canada, not as not-for-profit.
In the application, couldn't you just, you just ask for the incorporation number? As
It doesn't necessarily have to be incorporated either.
for the, okay, doesn't, okay, it could be unincorporated.
It could be unincorporated, but they
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
have to be registered.
They
Well,
would-
there would be some designation, I mean, in terms of Cato and a not-for-profit, not-for-shares, that kind of process. Councillor Rumbold?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for, I guess, playing devil's advocate, if I'm looking at the policy right now, BT 04 is nightclubs, taverns, salvage and junkyards. BTE 07 is fuel distributors. I don't know that we have ever, and again, I'd have to look at the CAO and look at the staff, when somebody is taxed under BT 10 for barbershops, beauty salons, spas, and fitness centers, I don't know how we ask them to prove that they're a beauty salon.
Well, they
Yeah,
would
they're
have,
the ones who put
But
the
with
line-
the
they're the ones that
not-for-profit, I don't
categorize
know,
that.
yeah, I don't know if it's like, really, I think all we would have to say is if you have paper that shows that you are a not-for-profit, and you have paper that shows that you're a barber shop, you know, I don't know if there is a method for us to actually question.
well,
it's
I would assume that
legitimacy.
upon development application, you apply for a barber shop, then you are placed, once that's approved from council perspective,
Right.
whether, you know, through town, that the finance department then gets a copy and they'll fit you into whichever, you know, business classification that you would be, and the same goes for not-for-profit.
So I would think that our staff would do their due diligence when they assess the taxation.
Yeah,
In
absolutely.
this case, they could provide articles of association, constitution, bylaws, et cetera.
Something
But that still wouldn't make them not-for-profit. It would be
Exactly.
some form of government registration that
Yeah.
declares you
Yeah.
not-for-profit. So.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Why don't you just change that not-for-profit to a charitable organization?
Not-
You're narrowing it down much better there.
Not all not-for-profit
Some not-for-profits
are
aren't,
registered as
are
charitable.
charities,
Then-
not
then
charities.
they shouldn't be getting it, should they?
They should be what?
That's what it was all about.
Well, I'm not sure.
If I can add something, Mayor, this issue came up several years ago when some of these not-for-profits were included into other classes of businesses in town. The issue of providing relief for not-for-profit or non-profit groups or organizations was fairly extensively discussed, and the mill rate of 8 mills was put in place, business tax of 8 mills. Under the Municipalities Act, we're only required tax, or there are only certain exemptions that we can't apply tax to. 8 mills at the time was seen as a very positive step forward, and I think to reduce that even further to 4 mills is great. At the same time, any non-for-profit or not-for-profit organization out there, whether it's the golf club or it's the Chamber of Commerce or whomever, applies for, they can still apply for a mill rate exemption,
This is only on the business tax perspective.
right, on the
right?
business tax or even on property tax, right, except for water and sewer. So this is just basically, at one point, some of these not-for-profits might have been taxed at 18, 20%, 16%, but now they were reduced to 8, and we're reducing it further. They will still have to apply in order to receive a tax.
Yeah, this
Problem
is,
is
this
these
is,
people are
this is
applying.
only the business tax
Yeah.
portion of this amendment, this motion, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So they would apply for a business tax exemption, and
Well,
they
let
would
me
have to
give
do
you-
that in the past as well.
Let me give you an example. I think it was last month, was it? We had an organization there that you had to step away from because you were in conflict of interest.
So then we
Apply
shouldn't,
for an
okay, I'm
application.
just gonna stop us. If we stepped away last time, then he should step away again this time.
Yeah, the housing hub.
Okay, so then we shouldn't have that conversation. Can you pick another example? Unless he's gonna declare or she's gonna declare.
But the housing
But
hub.
we're still having that
is
conversation.
a
We can't,
not-for-profit
skip,
organization.
but again, if there was declared for conflict before, if we're gonna discuss it, then it needs to be declared again.
I can remove myself if council wants to have a discussion on that. no
No,
problem.
we should have a different discussion, but this-
So, we have a motion on the, and we're spinning our wheels in terms of this discussion. So we have a motion that that's been moved and seconded, that we are going to amend the policy to decrease the business portion mill rate, for business tax portion mill rate for not-for-profit organizations from 8 mills to 4 mills. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of amending the policy to decrease, indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded?
Nay.
Motion is, recommendation is passed. Next recommendation,
Thank
Councilor
you,
Rumble?
Mayor. I have my final one, and this one is, and I'm going to try to get it ready so that I can actually read it. It's policy F0009, and the title of that is Property Tax Residential and Business Tax Exemption. The FAP Committee recommends Council amend policy F0009 to remove business tax from the policy so that an exemption only applies to property tax effective January 1st, 2023.
All right, so it's been moved by Councilor Rumbold through the FAP committee that we recommend to amend the policy F0009 to remove the business tax from the policy so the exemption only applies to property tax, and effective January the 1st. Seconded by? Seconded by Councilor Palmer. A discussion? Councilor Rumbold?
A little bit more background, Mayor, just going back to my report. Again, the rationale for this was because we wanted to acknowledge the not-for-profits. So we did this significant slash of 8 mils to 4 mils. But we recognized that it was a cumbersome process to apply for a exemption for business tax. And we would like to remove the business tax portion from the policy, so that exemption can only be applied to property tax.
All right, any further discussion?
So
Councilor
just,
Palmer?
so right now, if a non-for-profit came forward to the town looking for a business tax exemption, we wouldn't entertain the request?
I think the previous motion sets their tax rate at 4%.
That's it at
4
4.
mils.
What it was originally set at 8, and they
It
had
was
the
at
option.
8, and we slashed it to 4,
And they were,
so that, you know, we would recognize the contribution of the not-for-profits and not have to have them submit everything through a cumbersome process where they weren't guaranteed to even get an approval. Everybody now gets that 50% reduction on that tax amount.
but the question is, like, if you have a not-for-profit out there that's paying a business tax
At 4 mils.
at 4 mils, and they can't apply, you're saying they can't apply for a tax exemption, business tax exemption, based on certain circumstances?
If this motion is passed,
That's what this
we
motion
would
would do.
remove business tax from the policy. So an exemption could be requested for property tax, but not for business tax. Real property owned, but not for the business tax.
And I understand where you're coming from, but there are issues within the community where people are paying property tax
Yes.
on land that they don't own. So, and they are not for profits. So that could be an issue that could come up at some point. And I'll just, I might as well, it's a public committee. It's the Hunting and Fishing Association. They have Crown land. They have a license to occupy Crown land where their shooting range is, and they're paying business and property tax on that property. And they've applied for an exemption, I believe, and were denied in the past, even though they don't own the land. And they're paying a business tax, and so like that's one example there.
But I'm gonna
unless the
put
CAO
over,
can add more to that.
I'm gonna put the mic to the CEO.
I can just explain a little bit there. The way that the provincial government and federal government works is that if they own land and it's occupied by somebody that's not them, then the occupier is the one that gets charged the tax. It's no different than on the base.
So removes the pill.
It's the occupier.
Yeah, but it's the use too. I mean, it's a gun range
Yeah,
with
but that's
members
the
only.
business tax would
Yeah.
reflect the business of it. And Municipalities Act states that a business includes, list a bunch of stuff, and at the end it says whether or not it is for profit. So in the Municipalities Act where business tax is referred to, it's a not-for-profit is
In
included
that
as a
case,
business.
where is the profit for a gun, for the shooting range?
That's not where we're,
I think
Well,
it'll
that's-
come back to
So,
small.
That's what
No,
I'm saying.
I'm
There's
just-
gonna be issues that are gonna come up where an exemption may or may not, may apply.
It'll come back to
So-
that organization being small numbers again, because they're very small
So-
organization.
so then the suggestion would be, you've already just approved a motion
Mhm.
that says the decreasing from a business mill perspective from 8 to 4. So then this amendment would remove the business taxability, so someone can't apply for a business tax exemption. So all of the not-for-profit organizations would be reduced to the 4 mil, and there would be no ability to be
Yeah,
exempt
that's
from
the
the business
concern I
tax.
have,
That's
yeah.
what this would do.
That's the concern I got.
My concern would be, and of course I can't make friendly amendments, but my concern would be what about cases of hardship?
Yeah,
And I had this conversation with the
What about
CAO earlier, if there was hardship,
Yeah.
in terms of CO, and I guess we would deal with those, but when you have an exemption that says there will be no business tax exemption, then it would be hard to bring that case forward. Okay, are we at an impasse here? Any further discussion? All right, so the motion is moved and seconded that we amend the policy to remove the business tax from the policy so that an exemption only applies to property tax. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Nay. This motion recommendation is not accepted. And you have nothing further, right?
That is the
Okay.
end of my recommendations, thank
That
you.
one was defeated, good.
That one's defeated. Thank you, Councillor Rumbold. All right, let's move into municipal services. Now I'm going to ask Councillor Rumbold again to provide the report as our colleague is sick to this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to do my best with this report for the Municipal Services Committee because our chair is absent. So I'm just going to briefly summarize. There was a meeting, Municipal Services Committee meeting was held on Tuesday, March the 7th, and the meeting was called to order at 5:07 p.m. Present were Chair, Councillor Todd Winters, Councillor Hayward Broomfield via telephone, myself, Mayor George Andrews, CAO Nadine McCauley, Engineer Randy Dillon, Superintendent of Water and Sewers Keith Pye, Superintendent of Public Works Randy Chambers, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. We reviewed the previous minutes and action items, and there were no errors or omissions. The managers presented their reports. We actually had our Superintendent of Public Works, Randy Chambers, pivot on a dime because he had a wonderful report done with their plans for snow clearing and snow blowing, and we were in the middle of a unseasonably warm spurt at that point. So he was then focusing on water issues and catch basins. He informed the committee that sites for the Labrador Winter Games, such as Birch Brook, the shooting range, Otter Creek, and the golf club, had all been cleared by the town staff and ready for the games. He gave us an update on the tipping fees and the sand load count. The manager of Water and Sewer, Keith Pye, reviewed his report, updated us on ongoing maintenance, and he told us about some items that are ready to go out for tender. Also gave us an update on the water issue at the Lawrence O'Brien Center. The engineering manager's report was attached. Deficiency corrections were ongoing for the YMCA and progress was being made, which was noted. We also spoke about some deficiencies at the Broomfield Arena. Tender documents were being prepared by the engineering department for the lift station upgrades. They gave us an update on some of the improvements that have been made for town hall security, renovations to the building on Toronto Street for our depot relocation, and other projects that were awaiting status of applications from the federal government. With respect to the ICIP, road intersection upgrades and Loring Drive upgrades, so we were given an update, but there were no firm commitments made as of that time. There was no recommendations and no new business came out of that meeting. The date of the next meeting was scheduled for Wednesday, April the 12th, and being no further business, that meeting was adjourned at 5:49 p.m. I'd like to make a motion that you accept my verbal report as
Okay.
read.
Moved by Councillor Rumbold that we accept the Municipal Services Committee report as presented. Seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion? Okay, none heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? We've accepted the report. We're going to move now to Protective Services.
Yes, thank you,
And,
Mayor.
Councillor Palmer.
The Protective Services Committee met on March 15th. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Jackie Compton Hobbs, Chief Administrative Officer Nadine McCauley, Director of Public Services Brad Butler, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. Regrets from Deputy Mayor Wallace. We reviewed the previous minutes and action items. There were no errors or omissions. The committee also reviewed the monthly RCMP report for February. The Happy Valley Goose Bay detachment responded to a total of 375 occurrences, which were classified as calls of service during the month of February. This compares to 385 occurrences for February of last year. A total of 90 persons were incarcerated for a variety of offences during the month. At last month's meeting, there were some questions as to whether or not the RCMP stats included occurrences or calls from services outside of the community. As clarified, Your Worship, during a meeting with Staff Sergeant Kenny, the stats are for Happy Valley Goose Bay only. The Director of Protective Services presented his report. At the time of the meeting, there were 30 emergency calls for assistance. Chief Butler noted that all firefighting apparatus is fully operational. With respect to fire department equipment, cascade bottles have been installed and are fully serviceable. No new bunker gear is ordered with a delivery date of September of this year. The Fire Protection Officer had completed 8 new inspections, 11 follow-up inspections, and conducted training at the Lawrence O'Brien Center as part of a Fire Watch program, given some of the problems that were experienced with the sprinkler system at the center. A tour of the fire hall was given to the Special Olympics team, the Howling Huskies, and several of our volunteer firefighters assisted and cheered on the Special Olympics at the Labrador Winter Games snowshoe races, which was really great to see. Provincial Operational or Occupational Health and Safety Division visited and inspected the fire department on February 21st. No infractions were found. Fire department training is ongoing. The department is currently recruiting for new members with a deadline for applications being this Friday, March 31st. So anyone in the community that's interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter, the deadline is this Friday. Chief Butler also provided an update from his meeting with a resident regarding an animal control issue from a couple of years ago. He explained that the incident happened within the confines of 5 Wing Goose Bay and that it was in the jurisdiction of the military police and not the town. He said the town offered to provide assistance but was refused by the MPs on duty. He said the resident was satisfied with the meeting and appreciated the contact, and committee suggested that once the animal control officer is fully trained, the town would look at establishing some kind of a memorandum of understanding with the wing with respect to animal control. As noted in the animal control report, with warmer temperatures coming, there's an increased number of calls for dogs at large. The animal control officer will continue with proactive patrols throughout the community and focusing on certain problem areas. On March the 6th, the Protective Services Committee, along with our Animal Control Officer, Julia Kellen, met with the SPCA as well as Dr. Jackson from the Valley Vet Clinic. The purpose of the meeting was to get a better understanding of some of the challenges being faced by the SPCA, and we agreed to keep lines of communications open and to meet on a quarterly basis. The Animal Control Officer has drafted a public service announcement to be finalized for the upcoming Tag Your Critters event, scheduled for April the 15th, CAO. Thank you. We encourage all pet owners to drop by the arena and have them tagged. I'm assuming it'll be in front of the arena, in front of the town office?
Inside,
Inside the town office.
because they have to come in and register.
Oh, okay, just to be clear, bring your critters to the town hall on April the 15th and have them tagged.
Critters are optional.
Critters are optional, yeah. Also enclosed in the committee's package is the monthly municipal enforcement stats from Valley Communications, the dilapidated buildings list, and the derelict buildings list. Committee discussed the appeal hearing for 452 Hamilton River Road and was advised it would be 21 days before a decision is made. The CAO said on a go-forward basis, it's important to document all correspondence, contact, and other information that may be pertinent to dilapidated properties in the event of an appeal taking place. There were no recommendations, Mayor. The next committee meeting is scheduled for April the 18th. With that, I move that Council accept this monthly report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. It's moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we accept the Protective Services Committee as presented. Seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Questions? Discussion? All right, none heard. All those in...
Mayor, I just wanted to ask, we had a brief discussion in Protective Services around public safety, and did you just want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Is it part of the committee?
We had a discussion in the
But
committee around it.
Yeah, there was some issue. I guess And we had a further discussion as council, I guess, in terms of the municipal enforcement officer and
Yeah.
putting the, a new job description out. I'm not sure where that's to from finance policy. I guess it will come from HR. But we had some discussion on the need to have that position filled sooner rather than later, given the time of year that we're in. And we're going to see more incidents around our community and some more
Okay.
concerns being raised with respect to public safety. So
Yep.
I think there was anything else.
you moved your report, that wasn't in your report, so
Yeah.
we can do that
We can have a discussion.
further after if you wanted to. So it's been moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Brumfield, sorry. All right, so any further discussion in relation to the report? All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, recommendation is, report's been accepted. All right, approval of checks. And I'll pass it to Councillor Rumbold.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion that we accept the approval of checks for the period of February the 28th to March the 27th in the total amount of $1,500,758.26.
Okay, all right, there must have been something added since the title page. Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Rumbold that we accept checks in the amount of $1,500,758.26. Seconded by
I'll second it.
Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion? Councillor Brumfield?
I just want to point out or ask a question here. We had two checks for our auditor. One is for $20,700, the other one's for $40,250, over $60,000. That's for the work they've done to date, I take it, is it?
All right, I'll direct it to, yep.
So how long will it take them to complete the next year, 2020? Did they give any idea?
She said, I think it was about 6 weeks once she gets it, for her to
Yeah.
complete the audit.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Contrary minded? We've approved the checks. All right, I'm going to start with Councillor Pomeroy for Councillor Swan.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just a few things I touched on last time, communications. I'm still getting a lot of people coming to me, it's not that they're not getting information from the town, so I want to be clear on that. They're getting information on events that are happening, but it's the issues that are taking place in the community, and we seem to be silent on it, Mayor, and I don't know, obviously something's not working. We got to find a way to make people feel more engaged in what's happening in our town. I mean, the fact that there's no delegations here today, and I wouldn't want people to lose interest in our community because we're not engaging more with the community. And maybe it's the time of year and the seasons, but I would hope that we would try and make a more concerted effort to be more engaged with the public. And there are issues that are coming up, some major issues that are coming up. It happens every year, and people are reaching out to me as a councillor and saying, what's going on? Why aren't we hearing anything from our town? And where's the town stand on this? So, I'd like to see more communications, getting out to the community on issues as they arise. We had a provincial budget last week, and nothing from our town on what the implications might be from that budget. From what I understand, we haven't even heard from our MHA with respect to the implications on our town, which is not good enough. We need, this is a significant budget, if anyone wants to read through it. What are the implications on our town? Is there going to be extra resources there for security this summer? We're not getting any details, and we're a week in almost now with the budget and still no details. And I would hope that the MHA would come forward to council, or at least through the mayor, and give us a brief overview of the budget and how it pertains to our community and what the pros and cons may be. And we're not even getting that, and that's, to me, that's not good enough. I know if it was all good news, perhaps our MHA would be beating on our doors, just telling us what a great budget this is. But the silence is kind of deafening, and one has to be suspect whether it's good or bad. I mean, somebody needs to come forward and give us the details of the budget. Again, public safety with warmer temperatures, summer just around the corner. We're going to be bombarded again. We're starting to see a lot of people moving around our community. I'm not saying they're criminals, not saying they're causing problems, but we've had issues in the past where when you see an increased number of people, we see an increased number of issues taking place and more concern over public safety. You know, people say that it's a very complex issue. No doubt it is. It's definitely a very complex issue. But, you know, being concerned or compassionate or taking action on some of the issues that these individuals may be facing, whether it's mental health or addictions issues, you know, that doesn't mean that we have to accept repeated criminal behavior or violence. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their community. Enforcement is not the only answer, but it is a tool. And when you consider the RCMP caseloads have more than doubled, and as I noted earlier, the numbers are for Happy Valley Goose Bay. They're not for other communities that are within the jurisdiction of the detachment here. It's for our community. And the numbers have increased steadily. From last year, they're pretty well on par. But if you go back 10, 12 years ago, you'll see a huge difference in the number of occurrences in our community. The province will argue that it doesn't direct RCMP operations, despite holding the pen that writes the checks. And but the province certainly had no problem bringing in hundreds of RCMP officers to protect Nalcor's interests when they were moving transformers in the Labrador. There was no issue. We can bring in an extra 100 RCMP officers. We're not looking for 100 RCMP. We're looking for something to put people at ease, knowing that they feel somewhat secure in our community. And I mean, some would even argue that Muskrat Falls was the driving force behind some of the issues that we're seeing in our community today. And again, it goes back to the provincial government of the day, turning a blind eye to the recommendations of the Environmental Assessment Panel with respect to social impacts of Muskrat Falls, totally dismissed. And they're still being dismissed today, unfortunately. And so I think as a council, we need to be putting more pressure on wherever we can, as much as we can. And again, like I noticed there was some talk of possible funding in this year's provincial budget to help with public safety concerns in the community, as reported in the media. And yet we have not heard anything, whether anything's come to fruition on that. So again, hopefully we're not having to deal with another issue that's within provincial jurisdiction and we're left holding the bag. Just a couple other things. The Happy Valley Goose Bay Fireettes will be holding an Easter craft bake sale at the Kinsman Centre this Saturday. I would encourage everybody to come out. I assume that's still on the go. I see the CAA looking at me. So it's taking place on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I encourage residents to come out and support our firefighters in their fundraising efforts. And on a final note, I want to throw a bouquet out to the Labrador Winter Games organizers and Chair Councillor Winters, who's not here. I think it was a great job. With everything comes challenges. Despite the challenges that they faced, I think they put off a good show. You're always going to have your critics. You can never please everybody. But I think it was a great effort on everybody involved, and looking forward to the next games. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Broomfield.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. Always do. Congratulations going to the Labrador Winter Games people and all the volunteers. Even though the weather didn't cooperate, I thought they did a good job in what they had to work with. So I'd like to thank them and congratulate them. The other issue I think we do have to address the transient population. We can, has already started here, but we'll be picking up as the weather gets warm and the sun and the snow goes away. We got to be ready for it. We got to do something. We can't sit on our laurels and say it's not our responsibility when it is. Other thing I want to mention, last night I was on the website doing a bit of the scrolling around, and I was scrolling the Happy Valley Goose Bay website, Googling it more or less, I guess. I came across the Municipality-Canada website. That website still lists Leo Wabbis and myself as the contact. That's why FCM is probably doing all of them, so you might want to update that one.
What website was that, sorry?
It's called Municipality-Canada. If you do Google Happy Valley Goose Bay, you'll come to that one, and you'll see that they have Leo Wabbis there. Yeah. This Thursday, finally, after trying to do for like over 9 months, the combined councils of Labrador Executive Committee are finally having a meeting face-to-face here in town at the Labrador Office of Affairs. The only holdout is we haven't heard from that city yet because their representative quit about 3 weeks ago. So I did contact them by phone, email last week, phone this week. They may not be able to send in them, but it's up to them really, right? My other last item I really want to say is Happy Easter, everybody. Easter's coming up next week, first long weekend of the year for everybody. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rupel. Councillor Compton Hobbs.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit on the public safety too, and I agree with the other councillors that this should be the #1 priority of this council coming up, because as we see, the numbers have increased, and there's activity happening in the community already. The municipal enforcement officer, hopefully that position will be posted in the next couple weeks. That's my understanding. Anyway, early April will be posted. A bit frustrating with not getting the information from the budget. We were told, or there was rumors that security was going to be included in the budget for Happy Valley Goose Bay, and since the budget was released, we know nothing. I know that the mayor's going to be having discussion tomorrow. It would be nice if the ministers sat down with all the council and informed us of what's happening. It was public in the telegram that there was going to be security included, but I don't know. We don't know. It's a week later. So obviously, as elected officials on the ground, we're the ones getting questions and calls and texts and messages, what's going on. And so I think as a councillor and as a council, we should make this a #1 priority so we don't have to deal again this year what we dealt with in previous years. It's not good enough. We can't let that happen again. It's impacting our residences and our businesses, and we can't sit back and to tell you the truth, I'm tired of talking about it because it's been going on for a long time. So we need action, and we need someone to start listening to us that can make these decisions and help us. Communication, I wanted to mention this too. I think we are lacking communication. I heard it over and over that the residents are frustrated that they're not hearing anything from the town. Yes, they get their posts around events and so on, what's happening, and water shutoffs and so on. But as a council and a community, they want to hear more, and we need to communicate more. And I brought this up with council, obviously, and council is aware of it anyway. But to me, I think a communications staff member would certainly improve communication amongst the town, the council, the residents, the businesses. So I think we need to seriously look at that moving forward with whether it's a part-time communication person or whatever. But right now we need to get something in place because the community is frustrated. And I'm assuming everybody else is hearing the same, but that's what I'm hearing. I want to congratulate the Labrador Winter Games Board of Directors and volunteers too. Well put together. Congratulations to the Happy Valley Goose Bay Labrador Winter Games team. Without the volunteers, this wouldn't be possible, and there was hundreds of volunteers to help with the Labrador Winter Games. And I want to say thank you to all the town staff for all their hard work. I've been around the past few years, so I've seen how much work is involved in getting those tax bills in the mail, so hats off to the staff, and especially hats off to Nadine, because I don't think she leaves the building. I think she still has her bed in the back room and spends 17 hours a day in this building. So hats off to all the staff, and thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Compton Hobbs. And Councillor Rumbold.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the downsides of going almost last is there's a lot of duplication, so I am going to duplicate and echo some of the sentiments that have already been expressed, but I'm going to start off with Cane's Quest and just give credit where credit is due to the organizing committee that attempted this brutal, one-of-a-kind endeavor. We know that it was very unfortunate that they were not able to continue this year and didn't get the outcome that they wanted. But it is also a testament that climate change is real, and our weather has been changing, and they did everything they could, and they made their decisions as best they could, and I've seen a recent release that they're going to attempt again next year. So hats off to them and to all the volunteers and organizers that were a part of that, which segues into Labrador Winter Games. Same sentiments exactly. Hats off to the organizing committee, the volunteers, the people who put it together. A huge event, a phenomenal event, and we were so pleased to welcome all the visitors to our community, and we hope that they enjoyed themselves thoroughly, and they don't call it the Friendship Games for nothing. So I think that what was most important was the displays of friendship throughout the games. And again, hats off to our colleague, Councillor Winters, for all his hard work as the chair of this committee. Easter safety. Easter weekend is coming up quickly. Councillor Broomfield wished everybody a very happy Easter, and I'm going to say I wish the same and a very safe Easter. So as I alluded to with climate change, we've got a lot of people that still like to try to squeeze in that one last trip to the cabin, or they're out on the ice, and we just want to make sure that everybody is safe, and with the weather changing, that everybody makes themselves aware of ice conditions before you venture out. But we see it looking out the window here now. The snowbanks are getting a little dirtier, a little lower, so we can anticipate that we're in our messy weather. It also means that you have to be a little bit more careful when you're driving down the road to not splash those pedestrians as they're out getting the fresh air and enjoying the beautiful weather. I mentioned Cane's Quest, I mentioned Labrador Winter Games, and that brings me to Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 16th to the 22nd, which is actually just before our next council meeting, so I'd like to mention it now, is Volunteer Appreciation Week. This community is just blessed with some of the most fabulous volunteers. We have so many organizations that would not exist and cannot exist without the people that give freely of their time, taking time away from their families, away from their homes, and putting in the hours to volunteer. And I attended a volunteer event this weekend, or a fundraising event, this weekend, that was held at the vet clinic for the SPCA. I've just seen people pull together to raise money. It's you see the Cancer Society out now with their Daffodil campaign. So everybody who puts in their time, my hat is off to you. Not just for the week of April 16th to the 22nd, but every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the volunteers that are the heart of this community. As the other councillors alluded to as well, the tax bills and the hard work that was put in it by our staff, and I mentioned it in my report, but I'm going to, once again, because I do this little plug every time, encourage those residents who may wish to avail of our low-income tax relief program. There is an application that's available on our website, or you can stop by here at the town hall and pick up an application, a paper one. We have amazing staff at the town hall that will gladly take the time to help you if there's any assistance needed with applying for the low-income relief program. Also, payment arrangements. So not everybody qualifies for that low-income relief, but I'm looking across the room, and you guys can't see her on camera because she's the one operating it, but our Supervisor of Assessment and Taxation, Kelsey, she is willing to work with all of our residents and has been fabulous in taking that weight off of people's shoulders. Sometimes people are a little bit intimidated, and no reason to ever feel intimidated. Come in and discuss your tax situation. So we're getting our tax bills in the mail. Everybody can look forward to that. And a newsletter in the envelope that's going to tell you a little bit about some of our happenings here at the town hall. So again, I just shout out to the town staff, to the volunteers, everything that has been going on in this busy spring here in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and we'll continue to see how things get busier and busier as the days get longer. And people have been getting some beautiful Northern Lights pictures, but we're getting longer days. So I'm looking forward to that myself. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rumbold. Just a few things, just to reiterate to thank the town generally, I guess, for all the residents and businesses. We hosted the Labrador Winter Games. It was a fantastic week. The town was hustle bustle for the full week. Everybody had a great time. Lots of compliments around from different organizations that provided concessions at different places to different businesses that went out of the way for helping different folks and that. So hats off to Happy Valley Goose Bay. Another great job and another great Winter Games in the books. To our council colleague, to Councillor Winters and the team. It was great. But a big shout out to our team, our Happy Valley Goose Bay athletes. Tremendous amount of time training, was an absolutely wonderful showing. So we thank those athletes for putting in the effort for the last several months to make a good showing, and that they did. Just want to send a quick, I just saw before I came down this evening that just want to send a happy anniversary, I guess, or congratulations to Greg and April Pike at Home Hardware in their 6th year of being in business. They're a big employer and a big part of our community, so hats off to those guys. Just a couple of things in terms of what's happening from a council perspective. We have, of course, just went through, as Councillor Pomeroy alluded to, there's a budget. There was a couple of, things, I guess, that came out from our area. One of the biggest things is an announcement of a $30 million allocation for what we were referring to as a purpose-built facility. But we're fortunately, I guess, now on Thursday evening, Council is sitting with Newfoundland Labrador Housing in what will be a requested meeting from Council to let them explain to us what and the where, what's, and hows, and all that kinds of stuff of a proposed facility. So after that point in time, I think Council will be in a very good position to be able to comment. Up to now, we've heard a lot of innuendos and suggestions and things that other people have heard and that kinds of deal. But this meeting on Thursday evening will be Council's opportunity to hear directly from housing and in relation to the facility and potential programming. So we're looking forward to that, to learning more, and then we'll be discussing with the community further on that one. Just an update in terms of the other items from the budget. I heard, as others have heard, that from a security perspective there was going to be potentially an announcement, but there has been nothing outside of comments and posts on social media. No, we haven't been advised of anything from our area or our specific community outside of what we read. That's a bit of a concern to us for sure. And in terms of public safety, I am having a telephone conference call with a minister tomorrow to be brought up to speed on that, I hope. And I just have some serious reservations that plans are happening for and in our town, and community council, the town council is not being involved to the point where collaboration should be taking place. So there'll be more to follow on that for sure. Just looking down to the list that I have. Update, I've been asked a couple of times now for an update if there's any new information on the bus. We're continuing down the application processes, and we're hoping to have some positive news in terms of that in the very, very short order. So I'm looking forward to moving along with that process quicker than later. And outside of that, please be careful on the ice. We don't need another statistics. We, it's a different year, and just take precautions when you're traveling on the frozen water. Outside of that, again, happy Easter. Anything from staff? She has something. I'll pass the microphone over to the CAO.
Just one thing,
Oh, sorry, you go ahead. I did forget something.
Councillor Pomeroy brought up a fundraiser happening by the Firettes this week and asked me to confirm I hadn't heard about it. So I'd just like to remind all community groups, if you have any events on the go, send it to the town. We will gladly share it with our social media and our
Absolutely.
PSA formats.
Yep, so,
For anybody having anything on the go, we will share it, send it into PR@townhbgb.com.
yeah, that's it. The one thing I did forget to notice, or forget to mention, that last year we had a pretty successful concept I brought about, Coffee with the Mayor. We did a small business during Small Business Week. This year in April, and I was looking for the date, but the 6th at,
Masonic Lodge,
yeah,
6 p.m.
at 6 p.m., yes.
to seniors.
So it's geared towards seniors. The focus will be on seniors conversation. Also, you're encouraged, if you're going to happen to come out and have a cup of tea and a treat, I understand, drop by for a conversation. But if you have any old pictures or any old stories that you want to share, write down, etc., that as this is our 50th year of incorporation, it would be a neat conversation piece and a great way to have a chat while we sit and discuss issues that are of concern to seniors. So that's April 6th, Masonic Lodge,
Posters will be going up around town tomorrow.
and posters are in the works. So look forward to meeting everybody. Outside of that, nobody else from staff? We're good? All right, with that, we'll close the meeting and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Compton-Hobbs, seconded by Councillor Rumbold. All those in favour?
Aye.
Indicate with aye. Meeting's adjourned.